Luke Altmyer with some interesting comments over the weekend. Is this anything to worry about? Locked On Illini, let's go.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Locked On Illini. My name is Sunny Verma. Thank you for making us your first listen every single morning. You can find me at IlliniCast or at TheSunnyV, or go onto your favorite social media and do a search for Locked On Illini. Come say hello, come message me and say something nice or say something mean. Either way, I appreciate your guys' feedback. If you'd like to help the channel, all you have to do is check in that bottom right corner and make sure you're subscribed. Hit that like button for us, and it's going to send this content to other similar Illini fans just like you, and it'll help and continue building this little community that we have going on here. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So, at some point last week, as the transfer portal kind of opened and people were starting to enter their names, I noticed that there was a lot of quarterbacks, some of them starting quarterbacks, who were basically announcing that they were available for transfer. And I did an episode which was more so focused on the quarterback room and wanted to talk about whether there was going to be a need for change or a need or a concern that, any of our guys might be susceptible to leaving. Now, some of you weren't very happy with that episode because I had Luke Altmyer on the thumbnail. And I think I spent maybe 2 of the 9 minutes of that segment talking about Luke. And I guess people were thinking that I was trying to generate clicks or trying to drum up news or drum up drama out of nowhere. And rest assured, I'm telling you, I would not do that. That's not my time, not my place. It's not in my best interest to deceive my audience in any sort of way. And I hope at this point, this show's been going on for almost 6 months now, that I've learned some sort of level of trust with my loyal everydayers. So over the weekend, WCIA3 sports reporter, and this I'm paraphrasing from an article from my friends at Armchair Illini, Tristan Thomas asked Altmyer the questions on the mind of many Illini fans. In the ever-changing landscape of college football, what does the future hold for the Illini's talented quarterback? Luke responded this way. Yeah, it's such a crazy, crazy world that the NCAA has turned into. It changes by the day. I feel like I don't know all the rules, all the timelines, all that stuff. With the revenue sharing, there's a bunch to it. And here's the key part. I don't know what the future holds. I really don't. But man, I really love being here. I enjoy it. I love my coaches. I love my teammates. I think we have a really, really bright future ahead of us here at Illinois football. So again, Luke addressed and basically was kind of non-committal to whether he was going to return or not. And that got the Twitter Illini fans in a little frenzy. Pay up, make sure that Luke Altmyer is taken care of. And, a lot of people, of course, were kind of prone to being Illini fans, so we resort back to getting that feeling of being beaten by a stick. And there's a big level of concern. Would Luke Altmyer leave? And I will tell you, I checked back in with the source that I checked in with last week, and really nothing's changed. I would be shocked if, for whatever reason, Luke Altmyer was not in an orange and blue uniform next year. In fact, Brett Bielema talked about in his press conference that he and Luke have kind of been consulting with one another on the types of pieces that are going to be needed to be added for next season. Now, Luke is a chip that Illinois can really sell to prospective transfers next year. You're talking about a top 3, top 4 returning quarterback in the conference, a guy who, if Barry Lundy Jr. stays, now there's rumors that Barry Lundy Jr. might be offered a head coaching spot at a smaller school somewhere. Well, let's assume he stays. Luke Altmyer and Barry will have been together for 3 seasons. Luke is comfortable with the system. He's shown results in the system. And he's shown, or at the team has shown, that they're going to put quality players around him. Illinois had some of the best skilled players in the conference that they surrounded Luke with. And that's why, or at least that's part of the reason, Luke had one of his best. Well, he clearly did have the best season of his college career. That doesn't mean that there's not much improving to do. Obviously, we had issues with our offensive line last season, and that's going to be an area that we're going to have to spend a lot of money on. Unfortunately, the weakest part of Illinois' football team, which is the offensive and defensive lines, also happen to cost the most when it comes to the transfer portal. But the good news is the feedback I'm getting is that this successful season has generated more and more NIL opportunities for the school to move forward with. The fan base is excited, and the results have basically given Brett a higher budget to deal with this offseason. So I'm looking forward to seeing it. You figure we're going to land at least a couple offensive linemen, especially since we've had some defections, although Illinois is very lucky compared to a lot of other schools that we haven't really had anyone in the too deep leave as of yet. But these conversations are still happening with Brett and the roster. So who really knows ultimately who's going to leave? But it's going to be the offensive line. And I wouldn't be surprised, despite the young talent we have at wide receiver, with Zachary Franklin and Pat Bryant both leaving, I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois decides to bring at least one more established wide receiver to pair with a Colin Dixon, a Malik LZ, and all the other young wide receivers that we have on this team. So the point of all this, I know his comments were quoted a lot on Illini Twitter, but I'm telling you honestly, despite me being accused of trying to drum up clicks and drama last week, I'm not worried. I wasn't worried last week that he was going to leave. I'm not any more or any less worried this week that he's going to leave. To me, the eyes are on the backup quarterback, Leary. He's the guy I have. He's the one who I want to see whether he decides to stick it out and just be okay, be content being Luke's backup, or if he decides that he wants to have a starting opportunity in his last 2 eligible years of college football. So let me know if what do you think? Are you concerned at all about Luke Altmyer leaving? Do you understand that, this is a business now, unfortunately? Illinois, Luke wants to come back, but that doesn't mean that Illinois is not going to have to pay a pretty penny. This is just the economics of college football now. So let me know in the chat what you think about Luke Altmyer's comments, and we'll tackle the Wisconsin Badgers preview for the Tuesday night matchup. Nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. It's guaranteed perfection in every single bite, and right now you can save on unforgettable gifts with 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, score an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experiences, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoughtfully curated gift packages featuring gourmet favorites. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more, save 50% off site-wide for a limited time at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code COLLEGE. Minimum purchase may apply. So Tuesday evening will be the second Big Ten game for the Fighting Illini and their opponent, the number 20 ranked Wisconsin Badgers. And to give a little preview of the Wisconsin Badgers, I'm bringing on my good friend Rajeev from the Bucky Report. Rajeev, thank you so much for coming on.
Hey, appreciate it, Sunny. Always a pleasure to be on the show.
So it's funny, right? We're only each playing our second game of the Big Ten season, but I don't know about you guys, but for me, I do feel like there's a kind of a sense of urgency that Illinois does need to win this game and not start the year 0-2. How are you guys feeling over there in Badgerland?
Yeah, very similar. We're in a middle of a very tough stretch. We played Michigan, lost our first home Big Ten game. Then we went on the road to Marquette. Then now we've got at Illinois and then at Butler. So we've got a very difficult 4-game stretch. And Badger fans are scared of going 0-4 in that stretch and 0-2 to start the Big Ten season off. Look, one thing we know about this conference already, it's going to be very competitive. And so, I mean, every game matters. And starting out 0-2 just puts you in a hole that you really feel like you got to dig your way out of. So it's unfortunate that we got Michigan and Illinois at the beginning, but yeah, it feels kind of like a must win. And I don't know how that's going to work out because Illinois is a pretty good team.
Yeah, these are both actually pretty good teams. Wisconsin was off to a pretty good start, despite the 2 losses they've had recently, but they were also off to a really hot start last year and kind of fumbled, halfway through the season. Tell me a little bit about this team. Obviously, you guys lost a lot of your key players from last year's team, and there's a lot of names I'm looking at here. Some, of course, I do recognize, but a couple that I don't.
Yeah, so some of the big losses that we had were AJ Storr and Chucky Hepburn, both to the transfer portal. But what we gained in John Tonje has been fantastic. I mean, he's all of a sudden become the star of our team. He's averaging 21 points a game. He's absolutely been the guy. We expected a jump from our other guard, John Blackwell, who's been fantastic this year as well. So he's been a really good piece of the team, and he's what we expected him to be. Tonje's been the real treat. Then we returned a couple more bigs. Steven Crowell is a senior now, and then Nolan Winter. We weren't quite sure what the starting lineup was going to be to start the year. We also brought in Xavier Amos, who's another 4, kind of a stretch 4 from the transfer portal. He hasn't really been out there as much. So our starting 5 is actually Winter and Crowell are both playing. There's Winter starts at the 4 and Crowell at the 5. And then, we've got our backcourt of, we don't really have a true point guard. We have, John Blackwell and Max Klesmit kind of share those duties. And then John Tonje. So instantly, offensively, we've gotten better just because John Tonje is so productive. He's incredibly adept at getting to the foul line. He's also one of the best foul shooters in the country. He just takes so many. So yeah, we've seen a really big, nice uptick offensively. And frankly, we couldn't get too much worse than we were defensively last year. So it's not great right now, but it's a little bit better than we were defensively. So in general, people are feeling a little bit more positive about the team this year. We ended up as a 5 seed last year. We had a good year, decent, but we did kind of, as you mentioned, we did tail off a little bit. So it's really going to be how we can perform defensively, and are there enough pieces around John Tonje to really make us lethal offensively?
So, I mean, size-wise, numbers-wise, Tonje looks a lot like Storr from last year. How do the games, how are they similar and how are they different?
Yeah, they're similar in that he's extremely athletic. But honestly, he's a better shooter overall. I mean, his percentages are higher. He just takes better shots. He's a little smarter with the ball. He's really, really good at dribble penetration and creating either a foul or a bucket. Sometimes he gets a little bit too wild with that, which will just turn it to become a turnover. But Storr, while he was extremely reliable and he was good, Tonje just seems a little bit more in control, and it's a bit of a better all-around game. Mm-hmm. Most certainly, he's a better defender. Storr was, without question, the worst defender we had on the team last year, and he was a liability on the defensive side of the court. Tonje's a bit better there, but yeah, I mean, he has been such a pleasant surprise. He's scoring out of the blue, and honestly, when he's off the floor, like, he got into foul trouble in the Marquette game, and boy, I mean, it hurt us that we were kind of neck and neck with Marquette the whole game until he went out with his 3rd foul early in the second half, and then all of a sudden it was they kind of, their lead just kept growing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did watch that game just to kind of scout our opponents for Tuesday night. So, okay, let's start with a positive. All right, Wisconsin Badgers 2024-2025. What does this team do really well?
Well, we're scoring at a much higher clip, and we're playing a bit of a different offense. We're running faster. That's not typical for a Wisconsin offense. You kind of hear, Wisconsin likes to slow the game down and slog it through. That's not the case anymore. We're actually scoring more in fast break. We're much more aggressive offensively, which is something that we're not really used to on this team. Now, that's because we got guys like Blackwell and Tonje who are extremely athletic and who are doing that. Steven Crowell is a journeyman. He's been there several years. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the best guy, but he's a presence down low, and he's a good passer out of the block, which is something that he does a lot. Teams tend to double team him a bit, and then he'll kick out and he'll pass. And frankly, right now, we're just shooting the ball pretty well. Max Klesmit is our best 3-point shooter. He had a rough start, but in the last game against Marquette, I think he made like 6 or 7 threes. So he's kind of getting back. But in general, the team's shooting about 35% from 3, so that's pretty good. But yeah, we're fair at the present time. We're kind of a prolific scoring team, as long as our key players aren't in foul trouble, because we're not that deep.
Okay, so what are some things that the Badgers don't do too well?
Defense, definitely. It's been a struggle. If you watch the Marquette game, you saw Jones and Joplin just kind of doing what they wanted. The number of times Jones just, penetrated into the lane and got a kiss off the glass layup, I'm like, it's just frustrating, honestly. The Bo Ryan teams of old, the Greg Gard teams of old were better defensively. So that's an issue. Where it really is highlighted is in the front court. Our interior defense is just not there. We don't really have a rim protector on this team. Steven Crowell, he's a tall guy, but he's just not that big. If you watch the Michigan game when we played Danny Wolf, he absolutely destroyed us along with his partner inside. I don't forgot his name, but yeah, they crushed us. They ran a 2-man pick and roll with 2 bigs, and it was devastating. So we just don't have good interior defense. It is without question the most glaring weakness that we have on this team.
Which probably doesn't bode too well for you guys, with Tomislav Ivicic being arguably the Illini's best player so far this season. I don't know, how familiar you are with the Illini roster, but Rajeev, I usually like to ask this question. Let's pretend for a minute you're Brad Underwood and you're game planning how to beat this Badgers team. How would you go about doing it?
Pound the ball down low.
Yeah.
One thing we don't do really well is defend the pick and roll. So that's something that, frankly, a lot of teams will do against us. Now, we are hedging a bit more this year, which is good. So it's got a slightly uptick from last year. Last year, we just got burned on it. But if you've got a couple of bigs that are athletic and can do well in that system, that's going to be really effective. And frankly, the bottom line is we don't have interior defense. So if I'm Illinois, or if I'm any team that's playing Wisconsin, I'm putting the ball on the block and I'm letting my bigs go to work. If you've got physical bigs, which I know that you do, that's going to be difficult for us. But on the other side of the ball, defending us is not easy, right? I mean, you're going to have to find ways to limit John Tonje. And if he doesn't get in foul trouble, which he's only gotten in once, and if he gets hot, Illinois could definitely be in trouble. He is probably the most impactful transfer in the country. I think coming into the Marquette game, he was 7th in the country in scoring, 2nd in the conference. So he is definitely one of the best players in the country right now. And he's our lethal weapon. So hopefully you guys don't stop him, but that you got to find a way to neutralize him. And if you do that, then even though we're a good offensive team, limiting Tonje will definitely hurt us.
Rajeev, before I let you go, what are the vibes around Greg Gard? Now, you'll see me in the comment section consistently on the Bucky Report, your show, which you do once a week. And, I do watch the shows, and I know how hot and cold that fan base is with your men's basketball head coach. What are your thoughts on him? And now, what's the fan base's thoughts on him overall?
Yeah, it's honestly about as 50-50 as you can get.
Yeah.
My co-host, Justin Jolka, he's out on Greg Gard, and he has been for a couple of years. I, however, am in on Greg Gard. I have always been a kind of guy that likes a high floor. And I think Greg Gard does that. We make the tournament pretty much every year. We have missed it a couple times with him, which we never did with Bo Ryan. So missing the tournament is not an acceptable thing in our eyes. He has made some adjustments to his offensive style. His recruiting is okay, not the greatest. But, then the NIL world is out there too, and there's so much that is out of his control. But one of the biggest knocks on Greg Gard is in-game adjustments, in-game coaching has been a bit of a bit of back and forth. I still think it's okay, because what I don't want is the floor to drop out. You change coaches, all of a sudden you're starting from scratch. We have a very good, history at Wisconsin of being a high floor team, and I think we have that with Greg Gard. The recruiting is obviously the transfer portal did us well this year. Guys like Blackwell and Nolan Winter and other recruits that we have, and Daniel Freitag, who's a freshman this year, we're confident that he's bringing in the right guys. As long as we can keep moving forward, and we can keep the transfer portal coming in, and we can keep doing recruiting to a fairly good clip, and make the tournament every year, he's going to stay. Honestly, he's not going anywhere as long as he keeps making the tournament, because that's pretty much the brief at Wisconsin. You got to do that. You got to be competitive in the conference, which we have been for several years. But there are a lot of people that believe he's pretty much reached his ceiling. And he has been knocked out of the tournament several times in the opening round, which is not a good thing. And if it happens again this year, which it happened last year, there's going to be more calls for his job. I'm telling you, it's really 50-50. There's a lot of people that are guard in and an equal number of people that are guard out. How he does this season is going to be telling. And what we're really hoping doesn't happen is that late season slump, like you mentioned earlier. That happened last year. And we had a February that was atrocious after we had a really good start to the season. So hopefully we can be a bit more consistent this year because we're a better offensive team. And then I think he'll be fine. But yeah, I still believe that he's the guy for the program right now. I'm not saying he's the greatest coach in the country, but he's also not the worst. And I like being that high floor program.
And actually, I kind of have to ask. Same question, Luke Fickell.
Well, we believe in Luke Fickell. That's tough, man. It's first of all, the fan base is very much pro Luke Fickell still. There is a small minority that are ready for him to be out, just given that the identity changed on what we had and things obviously went sour quickly. But honestly, we just hired Jeff Grimes as our new offensive coordinator. We did a good big show on him yesterday, breaking down what he did. He's going to be good. He was at Kansas. And what he's really doing is returning us to our identity of being a power run team and incorporating a power spread. It's going to be all about the quarterback. I heard you talk about Luke Altmyer earlier. Would be more than happy to take Luke Altmyer off your hands if you enter the portal, because I personally like Luke Altmyer a lot. But so it's about what we're going to get. What I will say is that this is Fickell's big chance. He failed with the Longo experiment. If the Jeff Grimes experiment doesn't work, Jeff Grimes is going to be gone and Luke Fickell is probably going to be gone. So this needs to work. This is a really big hire for him. And the program is at a precipice. We are not, again, we had a 22-year bowl streak that just ended, and that's crushing for Badger fans. It has to be back. Again, high floor, 7-8 wins, got to be the minimum. We don't want to be a team that's at the bottom of the conference. We've never been that team before, and we don't want to. We have no part of it now. He needs to turn it around. But for the most part, I think people are pretty confident that he's still the guy.
Rajeev, I appreciate you taking a couple minutes to come on here. Please let the folks here know where they can find you online.
Yeah, it's the Bucky Report on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm at Rajeev Badgers on Twitter. My co-host. So come check us out.
Appreciate you, Rajeev. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And that's going to wrap it up for today's episode of Locked On Illini. Again, please make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Find me on your favorite social medias. If you're on Discord, definitely join our channel. We have ongoing conversations every single day. Most of the time, we're talking Illini sports, but on occasion, we talk professional sports and just life in general. So I would love to have you on that side as well. If you don't mind, if you're watching this on YouTube, find us on your favorite audio platform and hit that subscribe button on that end, and vice versa. If you're one of my loyal audio listeners, please do me a favor and find us on YouTube. Just again, it doesn't cost you guys anything, but it helps this community grow. It's my goal to hit 2,000 subscribers by the end of the calendar year. Obviously, a lot of names going on in the transfer portal. As I mentioned earlier, Illinois really hasn't lost anyone too significant yet. At some point this week, I will address who we have lost and maybe some of the positions that we're going to be keying in on. But I'm just waiting to, flesh it out a little bit more. There's still a couple more names that I want to talk about, which I've heard are going to be entering the transfer portal. But because it's not official yet, again, I don't want to get in trouble by anybody for leaking news or act like, folks thinking that I'm trying to create drama or anything like that. So once some of these names become official and I can talk about them, I will do exactly that right here on Locked On Illini. So again, make sure you're subscribed. I appreciate all of you. it'll be Wisconsin, Illinois. We're going to be doing the post-game report right after the game, as I do after every single basketball and football game. So again, make sure the notification buttons hit as well. If you want to join me for the preview, join me at Illini Cast. Me and Austin will be doing the pre-game show for that Wisconsin game on Tuesday evening. But until then, again, this is your place for all Illini content. I love you all. ILL. Love you guys.